Of more welcome Tanks Invest, talk about investing, finance, and professional development for today's symptoms only. The investment talk today will be Ethereum Tech ETH. First, I want to say happy Sunday, everybody. Hope a great weekend so far. Respect to recording time of 9:45 a.m. on the Eastern Time. Ethereum currently trading $3,425, up about 2.92% so far. Respect to overall crypto market, in addition to the stable coins, if you may, Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is relatively green today. On top of the fact that the altcoins are all relatively green as well. Besides Solana, seems like is currently selling off to be below the $177 level at the moment, down about 5.65% so far. So just take a look at quickly on the Cardano real quick. Seems like we are hovering on a sideways fashion, struggling to stay above. Obviously the next level, the technical resistance would be, if you look at it, is the $2.81 level. We tested that, I would say yesterday when you see that little mini green candle, but subsequently people immediately sold back down. It seems like we are recovering slightly. However, with respect to the risk versus reward ratio, there's still some room for us to fall back down to, right? We are still at the 54 on the RSI scale in comparisons to, earlier last couple of days, right? We're at the 41. So it seems like we are slowly recuperating. In terms of the curvature, we are slowly forming a curvature at the moment, but it seems like it's leaning more downward than upward, right? So I would say with respect to, is this a right level to dollar cost average at right now? I think, this would be the logical level, knowing the fact that we do have some substantiveness. But I think because of the fact that, there's still some room to fall and we are curving down a little bit. And today's rebound is more just a normalization, knowing the fact that it's Monday market on the international side of the house rather than in the US. So people across overseas are probably buying in, which is like the typical Monday effect, which, typically Mondays are green for equity market on top of crypto because that's when buying activities start to incur. So this could just be, the normalization after the weekend affectation, right? So I think we might see some sell-off coming, but right now it's not a bad idea to buy. Definitely much better than the level we were buying at the $3 before. So just take a look at the Solana. Okay, so Solana is definitely very negative. It's a very bearish setup that we see right now, right? We have dragged up enormously. I would say this is an astronomical surge we experience ever since the 26th, right? I would say if you count the percolations as well, ever since the 13th of August, right? We surged up all the way from basically $47 level to the 215 or 216, right? If you round it up, right? It seems like we have consecutive red candles, people taking profit slowly. And on top of the fact, MACD is crossing downward. We are slowly forming that death cross. And once we form that death cross, we're going to see a bloody sell-off coming. And we will subsequently hover back down to a 143. And then subsequently, we'll consolidate a little bit at 143 and then consolidate sideways on the 111 and then dip back down to below to the 66. I would wait off to buy at the moment, despite seeing some sell-off at down about 6% so far, that I think there's a better time for us to buy. On top of the fact you see RSI is still overbought despite the little sell-off that we've incurred, right? This is a relatively sizable sell-off too. This is like about $50 of sell-off ever since the 215 mark, right? So going back to Ethereum, before I dive into the technical, let's take a look at the news that's been percolating so far. Right? I've been reading some news this morning. I would say collectively, not really a lot of substantive news. It's just like, I would say like three handful news that I see on my news portal that I'm subscribed to. So with respect to CNBC 1 hour ago, talk about the investor's guide to Solana. It seems like this is characterized as the Ethereum alternative that's been up about 300% the last 30 days. Right, it seems like this is another regurgitation news with something we have seen if you are observant in the market. And with respect to the article, it's talk about like the long-term value proposition of Solana. What is the price target that various different analysts have projected? and what would be the level of dollar cost average in the technical perspective, right? And that's something we have already gone through. So it's interesting to read, but CNBC oftentimes has a certain cognitive bias to persuade people. But so, to each his own, right? I wouldn't suggest like buying into Solana despite the sell-off right now, because the technical just doesn't, it's not the best setup that we, in terms of risk mitigations or management, right? Another one talking about with respect to Bazinga about 12 hours ago, basically when I went to sleep last night. With respect to Ethereum network after EIP 1559 launch, which is the London fork that we experienced about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. So this is basically talk about what is the transition, what is the infrastructure, how it's improved over time, how does that fix the high gas fee costs, how does that deal with the efficiencies of transaction that we were experiencing some hiccups on, right? And what would be the long-term vision for that, and how that would translate into Ethereum long-term usage in the commercialization perspective as well. So it's a informative one. Another, I would say, persuasive news on pushing or pumping Ethereum, if you may. So it's a good news, I guess, in a way, but still, take that with a grain of salt, right? And then another one talk about on Decrypt came out like 16 hours ago. So this is something we probably talked about already. With respect to altcoin continues to rise while Ethereum and Bitcoin fails. So it seems like, with respect to what I've talked about yesterday, it seems like media affectation is slowly pushing, Ethereum and Bitcoin as a form of stable coins in comparisons to, historically, Ethereum was known to be an altcoin, right? And it was like known to be the key representative for altcoin, if you may, right? But it seems like nowadays it's like more like Cardano, Dogecoin, Solana, even XRP are known to be more the representative or like the key representations of, altcoin, if you may, right? So it's interesting to hear, and definitely, for me as a long-term investors in Ethereum, is something that I appreciate. We like to invest in stable coins, right? It means that Ethereum is, going to be further, corporately adopted going forward, and with the commercializations NFT, and more usage on, just utilization as a whole globally is something we appreciate, right? Just more adoptions, which subsequently should drive some supply and demand imbalance, which subsequently should translate into a higher price level for Ethereum going forward. But ultimately, the technical is still in place, right? We still need to understand how that momentum will look like going forward, because the monetary circulations still needs to incur for them, for us to further sustain the rally. Knowing the fact that we have surged for relatively, astronomically ever since the B-word summit on the 20th of July, right? And it's September right now. So selling off is not a surprise, right? So I think that's pretty much on the news overall. Nothing really, substantive. I would say, I guess the media affectation are taking some time off today. It's a Sunday, so I totally get it. So with respect to the momentum that we have right now, so today is it's just a more of a normalization. We are struggling to stay above, right? And technically, we are at the level of non-substantiveness right now at the $3,418. The technical level would be the next level, which is not that substantive, would be the 3,475 as the next leap up, right? But it seems like we have failed to get there, right? We open below, but we subsequently rebound to get above to the next level. But it seems like we are struggling to get there. On top of the fact that the next level, if we go down, would be the 3,150, right? Which we tested, I believe, yesterday, and the day before as well. So you see this, relatively large red candle. And we also saw that, prior, right, when we broke that level, but subsequently rebound immediately, because that was a really, really steep level on the RSI perspective, that we rebounded from the $3,011 and subsequently went back up, right? So it seems like with respect to MACD right now, we are slowly forming a curvature. But it's, with respect to the apex, is this the, the negative apex of, of the curve that we should be enduring for MACD? I think because of the fact that we are at a relatively substantive level, approximately, we still like, like $200, $250 away from the real substantive level of 3,150. I'll probably wait off because today is a more of a Monday affectation on the international side of the house. On top of the fact that, on the RSI perspective, we're still kind of in the mid-level. Higher propensity on more of an overbought. I would say like 60-40 in terms of the ratio right now. And for me, I'll just be, chilling on the side a little bit more. I'll just wait until we come back down again. And I wish that I bought at the 3,000, which I know some of my friends here on YouTube are diligent enough to actually get that level. So congrats to you guys. You guys are making a relatively good gains at the moment, right? But I still foresee some sell-off coming, despite the struggle that we have right now, right? Because of the fact that we know the whales have bought in at the 2,750, 2,450. That they took some profit, but it seems like this is just more of a phase of, just people denying, people struggling, and the buying pressure is mainly coming from public investors, right? So just to stay within our sanity, right? We know that we are at basically in the mid stage of anxiety, close to maybe denial even. And that anxiety doesn't come in that, sudden fashion. It doesn't come in just promptly. We will be oscillating on a sideways fashion. Someday will be green, someday will be red. It's like kind of a, jerking your emotions, if you may, right? But next thing you know, you're going to see denial and panic. And this is something we are foreseeing. This is not a surprise. We know that if we're going to go through the psychology in a market cycle, this is how it's supposed to happen, right? So with respect to the frame of reference that we have to stay within our sanity again, right? Without being manipulated by media affectation and listening to what people tell you what to do, not even listening to me, is to listen to yourself and stay within your logic, your methodology, right? And for my methodology is the 3,000, 2,750, 2,450 that I keep reminding myself that it needs to go through that occurrence, even though sometimes the all the factors in the media front doesn't seem like it is, right? But long-term wise, if you bought in at 3,800 or like, let's say you bought at the 4,000, just hold for a long term. Don't freak out. Just do not panic. Time will always pay off, right? You just have to be patient. And there's no reason to sell on a loss, right? That's like guarantee losing your money if you sell on a loss, right? Just hold for a long term. 12 months from now, you'll think yourself later, right? That long term wise, we'll see way higher numbers. We see 5 digits. My price target is 25,000 in the next 3 to 5 years, right? And I think we have a high potential to get even higher based on some of the research report from various different investment banks, right? So hopefully this is helpful. So this is my Sunday update in the morning on the East Coast. Really appreciate you and have a great rest of the weekend. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video coming up. Take care.